Hey, tudo bem? Bom dia, boa tarde.
Bom dia, bom dia.
How's it going, sir?
Good. How about you?
Very good, very good. It's just the feria. It's it's Friday, so
Yeah. Monday
what's better
is
than
going to
that?
be a public holiday as well.
Oh, really? It's a feria. That's awesome.
It's going to be a long one.
I know that the 25th was also a holiday. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Back-to-back holidays for you guys. How does it feel?
How did they celebrate the 25th of April in Portimao, right?
I wouldn't know. I was actually shopping for ceramics.
Okay.
So we were going to see some people who actually, was it on Tuesday that we were shopping for ceramics? No. I forget now what we did on Tuesday. On what is it? Terça-feira.
Yeah.
I forget, but I'm pretty sure it was the 20. I think in one of the circles, because there's a monument of the 25th Abril. I think they closed it and they had like maybe they must have had like some motorcycles, everyone on scooters, and they passed by with the cops. I think they did something like that, but I was mostly in my house busy. I think it was on Tuesday. I think Wednesday is when I went. I forget now, Wednesday and Tuesday.
No, but it's like it's pretty much fireworks. Let's say it's pretty big. I was also not expecting it actually.
Oh, really? Well, you're probably in a more populated area, so maybe that's why.
Lisbon.
It's better. So, yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming. We both are currently in Portugal. We're trying to get a lot of people in the chat. I know there's already an existing chat. Everyone needs to come on over, so that they're going to come on over in 5-10 minutes. We're currently live on YouTube, so shout out to everyone on YouTube. Just want to give a bit of a timeline of what we're going to be doing. So I have some questions prepared for crypto taxes, or Thomas, or how do you want to go by?
You choose. Up to you.
I guess I'll go by Thomas, I guess. So I'll be asking Thomas some generic questions just to maybe answer a couple of people's already existing questions. If you would like to, for those in YouTube, in the description we did post the link for you to join on Twitter. You need a Twitter account on the mobile, Android or iPhone. I don't think it's possible on iPad, nor is it on computer, unless you're using BlueStacks to come on and have a mic, so you can ask Thomas some questions at the end. We'll be leaving a lot of time for that, since I know a lot of people had easy questions for him. But we will go through some generic questions at first. Obviously, ask him a bit about his experience, and obviously together we will be, showing you guys a bit of why Portugal is the choice of this interview. So again, Thomas, thank you so much. So the first question I think I'm gonna have for you is, give us a bit of a experience of what you have, in the field of taxes and crypto, and also for yourself for Portugal.
Yeah, sure. So my background is business. So I studied business in the Netherlands, which is a combination of like economics and accounting. So I studied accounting. I understand how taxes works, especially in the Netherlands. So I'm originally from the Netherlands. It's a very common misconception that I get because I've been living here for 8 years already. People figure this out sometimes in the end of the call, and sometimes like in the middle of a call with me, they realize like, you're actually not Portuguese. So I'm not Portuguese, I'm Dutch. I moved here 8 years ago, started working here for an accounting firm, learned the tricks there basically, know exactly what I can do and what I can't. Because here in Portugal, some of the work is really done by a registered accountant, which is actually one of the hardest countries in Europe to become a registered accountant, just because they make it so hard for foreigners. But they're currently working on making it easier. So I might apply for that in 1 or 2 years from now. Then basically I moved on from that company and I started working for finance. And in the meantime, clients wanted to stay with me instead of the company. So I just decided to go on my own, and then crypto came on the way. I was super interested, and then I just saw this core need where people are joining the space, and they need tax help. So that's when I found my company. We are currently 2. Daniela, I don't know if she's in the chat. but she might join later. She's mostly helping with visas. So if you have any questions regarding visa applications, especially for crypto to come to Portugal, she could help with that later in the AMA. Yeah, and that's basically it. So what is the services that I offer? I help people with immigration. I help them with setting up freelance activities. I help them with properties. I basically also help with non-crypto related stuff. But if I could choose, I prefer to work with people in crypto and that are interested in buying property with crypto, that are interested in setting up freelance companies here. Some of my clients are like YouTubers. Some of them are like OGs, and that's why I love my job. You really meet really interesting people.
Yeah, that's wow. That's awesome. So I hope everyone can go ahead. I just want to say it out loud. We will be posting the link for your website. I think it's if I'm not mistaken, cryptotaxesportugal.com.
Yes.
So if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and write them down. Go visit the website. Maybe do a quick glance before we ask, the generic questions. And I hope, Thomas, we're probably going to have them repeated, but we'll still go through the generic questions. So again, thank you. Thank you for everyone for coming. Before we start, can you please like and retweet the space and maybe quote and tweet and say a bit what you guys think about how it's going. Give us your feedback if you have any questions, please go ahead and write them down. So when we go through it, we have them all in order, and we will go by order of people doing the questions first on YouTube and on Twitter, and then we'll go by speakers. So thanks, guys. So basically, the first question I have is probably going to be the biggest one. Is what are the steps in order for what is the best way for a non-European person to go ahead and maybe approach the possibilities of entering Portugal and living in Portugal?
Well, first you need to look as a non-EU citizen. You need a visa application. So within Europe, we're free to move. Basically, what you need to show is like 6 months of minimum wage, and basically on that you can move from any European country to Portugal. But for foreigners, it's a little bit more difficult, and it's really changing in the space. You need to apply for a visa, which can be a passive income visa, it can be a digital nomad visa, and it can be the golden visa. The golden visa is like you either need to put $1 million into a company or to investing, then you get the golden visa. You immediately get the Portuguese passport, and or you have to buy a property with the worth of $500,000 on specific zones. So the golden visa becomes more and more complicated, and I think within 1 year from now the government will stop that whole process. Yes, and then you have the digital nomad visa, where you have to earn at least 2,800 euros per month in order to apply for that. You have the passive income visa. I don't know the exact numbers. For that, I have my visa specialist, Daniela. And so that's how you have to see it. Like, these are the options to come to Portugal. You have to apply for one of them, and then you can come if you want to move here. If you don't want to move here, you can still buy a property, but you can only stay there a limited amount of time based on the tourist visa. That's basically it. That's what you have to think about if you're a non-EU citizen and want to move to Portugal. So which of these visas are you going to apply?
Awesome. And I guess the next question would be the same one, but for EU citizens, people that live in the
EU is just very simple. There is tax conventions, because people say like, okay, how long do I need to stay in Portugal in order to be considered a resident? So it's 183 days. That's what the tax treaties say. So nearly every single company or every single country has a tax treaty. And basically in there, I think it's Article 1 or 2, it's really in the beginning, it states like where you are intending to stay more than 183 days. And that's where you should register a resident. In order to register a resident, you just unsubscribe in the country where you're living. You're moving to Portugal. What you need to prove is that you have a place to stay, that you have 6 months of minimum wage on your balance. If you go with your wife, it's like 12 months of minimum wage. And then you can move. Pretty easy process. You can do it all by yourself. You don't need a lawyer. But yeah, if you want to have it smoothly, you can contact me. I make like a tailor-made plan. I tell you exactly where to go, asking for which documents, and then guide you through the process.
Awesome. That's wonderful. If anyone, like I said, go ahead and cryptotaxesportugal.com. Prepare your questions. Thank you again, Thomas. So another question I would have is, we're going to start with, just basic real estate, right? Obviously, I'm in we at Ocean 85 Properties in Portugal, LDA. We obviously are a property management firm. We also have our real estate agency. So we do have a couple of questions, obviously. So what are the tax rates for property owners in Portugal? Let's start with let's say someone who is a non-EU coming in and acquiring, let's say, a visa, maybe a D7 visa, or getting the golden visa.
There is no difference in that, because the property taxes in Portugal are called IMI, and they're based on the VPT value of a property. It's a bit complicated because, as far as I know, it's quite a random value that the government assigns to a property. So it's not the value that you purchased or that you sold the property for. It's the VPT value of a property. And there is multiple online calculators that you can use, and you can actually see the property tax. You can also just find it in your own Finanças account, which is your login with the Portuguese authorities, and they just send you the bill every year. So it's you can just search for an IMI calculation on the internet, and you can calculate it for yourself. It is just this value VPT is it's a little bit complicated, and it's a whole new topic. It depends on where it is, what is the zone, how many windows does it have, how many square meters. So it's the government creates their own value, which is many times way lower than the purchase or selling value of the properties. And based on that, they calculate the IMI. And as far as I see, normally the IMI is in between like 100 and 1,000 euros per year.
And let's say someone were to be doing, let's say they're a foreigner, they purchase property, and they go ahead and rent their property, and what we call here in Portugal, it's called alojamento local. So how would someone go about, like, what would be an approximate way you could explain to how you would get taxed on
Yes.
that?
So with the alojamento local, that is actually short-term rentals. So you really have to think about like Airbnb rentals, Booking.com rentals. So it's a specific area for short-term rentals. So in order to do the short-term rentals, you need to set up an activity in Portugal, like a freelance activity, where you're declaring the profits. Then you can choose in either having the simplified regime, where they basically say that 85% of what you make in your Airbnb is considered profits, 15% is cost. If your opinion is that the costs are way higher than 15%, then you can choose for an organized bookkeeping, where you're really hiring an accountant to do the profit and losses of your business. Then, so for the simplified regime, it's 85%. The contabilidade organizada is for like whatever profit there is left after the costs. And as a foreigner and non-resident, first of all, you need a fiscal representative. So somebody that fiscally represents you in Portugal and receives like your to be paid taxes. But then it's basically just 25% of the taxed amount. So either 25% of 85% or 25% over what the accountant calculates as taxable amount.
Awesome.
That's the short-term rental. Maybe you're also interested in like the long-term rental.
Yeah. So how would rental income and also capital gains from real estate be taxed in Portugal?
So yeah, capital gains is a different story. Let me first explain like the long-term rental. So for a long-term rental, you basically have to create a contract with the person that's gonna live in your property. For this, you don't need the alojamento local. So the alojamento local is only the rights to do short-term rentals. For long-term rentals, you don't need that. You basically make that contract, and then you pay 25% on your rental income. But you can reduce. I have them here written for you. You can reduce the cost of structural maintenance, repairs, house insurance, the condominium fees, property taxes, even the EME, so that the taxes that we spoke earlier about, then any additional taxes that are from the area that you're living in, villa management fees, utilities, and any other costs. And it's just important that you include your fiscal number on the invoices, because only when your fiscal number is on the invoices, you can reduce all these costs from the rental income that you get. And whatever is left, that is going to be taxed 25% as a non-resident.
I understand. And someone who is in Portuguese can acquire an NIF?
So this is a bit uncertain at the point. I know that during COVID, the government changed and said, like, you cannot request your own fiscal number. You need to go through a middleman. As far as I am aware, this is still the case. But I heard people saying, like, hey, but I acquired it by myself. I didn't need a middleman. But the reason why they want you to use a middleman is because that middleman also becomes your fiscal representative.
I understand. And usually that it could be, from what I understand also from my experience, is that we could also use, someone can use another European. It doesn't need to be necessarily an entity.
Yes,
is that correct?
That's fully correct.
So if someone has a family member or a friend they would like to use, and I think it's like you use them as a tax representative, meaning that, you know, they assume all bad and good, I guess, from you. So yeah, okay, cool.
Well, the other thing that you brought up was the capital gains. So maybe to move on that. So for capital gains, give me a second. I also have an overview of costs that you can deduct. So capital gains is basically the difference between purchasing a property and selling a property. Give me a second, because I was actually calculating this for one of my clients. And then you have a nice overview. So yeah, first you make what is the capital gain, which is the difference between the selling price and the purchasing price. Then for the purchasing price, there's also a factor that you can use that on paper increases the purchasing price, and that is due to inflation correction. So you can increase the purchasing price with the inflation correction given by the Portuguese authorities. Then what you can reduce is the sale taxes of the purchase of the property. You can reduce the IMT on the purchasing. You can also reduce the maintenance of the last 12 years, but the maintenance need to add value to the property, with the exception of paint. So if you added another wall to your property, you can reduce that from the profit. As it's hard to explain, but it needs to be something stuck to the house. So it needs to be value added to the house and stuck to the house, that you cannot take it away when you're selling it. Then you also have the costs of the how do I translate this? Like the institution where you signed the property to the other person, like in Portuguese is escritura. Then also there is a registro predial that you pay to the state, which you can also reduce, and also the energy certificate, so you can check your house and get a company to do it. Again, always add your personal NIF to the invoices. When this energy company is checking how energy efficient your house is, that certificate, the costs of that, you can also reduce, because many purchasers will request it before they buy. And the fee of the real estate agency, but it's important that this real estate agency is also mentioned in the contract. So if it's just a real estate agency that is not mentioned in the contract, you can't reduce it. So that's a lot of cost that you might be missing. So if you're a resident and this was your first house, you can reinvest the full amount. So you're selling a property for 200,000, you can reinvest the 200,000. You don't pay any taxes, only when you're a resident. If you're not a resident, or this is your second house, then the profits are going to be divided by 2, and then that will be taxed in Portugal. Even as a non-resident is, I believe, 28%, and if you're a resident, it's No, it's also maximum 28%. It's in both cases it's maximum 28%. But if you're in a lower tax bracket by using the tax brackets of Portugal, then you can use that. So maximum 28% of half of the capital gains. I hope you could follow it. There was a lot of information, I know.
It's okay. It's for the replay because people will have specific questions. I know we have specific questions for, both sides, EU and non-EU. I guess, well, when it comes to real estate, it is a big subject, which would need a bit more details and a bit more time to be, looked into. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that people have to assume depending on their situation, what they can create, what they have to deal with. I guess the next situation, which is mostly crypto, obviously, Portugal is has been talked about a wonderful place for, crypto activity or joining and living there in order to live off of the income of crypto. Can you go ahead and explain a bit why people would assume this?
Could I add one more thing to the property, because like you sent me the
Go
list
ahead.
before, and I think we're missing something important, which is
Go
like
ahead.
One of your questions was like, ask examples of common mistakes or misunderstandings that people make when it comes to real estate taxation and purchase in Portugal. Well, I added the purchase because I think it's important that people know. So when you are interested in buying real estate in Portugal, it's really important that you get a lawyer that checks the property registration. Because in Portugal, you actually have a lot of like illegal amendments to a property. And once you purchase the property, it's your responsibility. So it can be that the government comes to you and says like, hey, you closed your balcony. This is illegal. You have to open it up, which is like, or it's fully your cost, or you have to pay a fine. So it's really important that you check that. On the other side, the lawyer also needs to check if there's any debt on the property, because if you buy a property with debt, the debt also becomes yours. That's a really weird way how it works in Portugal, but it works that way. Yeah, and when you want to have tenants in your apartment, make sure that you analyze those tenants carefully, because once they occupy your apartment and they start misbehaving and not paying, I guess it's also in other countries, but it's really hard to get them out. So that is to close off the property.
Wonderful. And obviously we can go and explain that much more in detail. If someone would like to contact you for that, they can definitely do that.
Yes.
So let's go to the crypto side.
Yeah.
So how is cryptocurrency? Obviously, the first question was, why is cryptocurrency so so talked about when it comes to Portugal?
Yes. So let's start off with like 2022, which was last year. And last year, what was taxed in Portugal was if you were considered a full-time trader, so a day trader in crypto, you would be taxed opening up an activity, having an accountant that does your P&L, and you would pay taxes over that. Or you are a business and you're receiving cryptocurrency as payments. So I receive cryptocurrency as payments. And like currently, I think the value of like $110 is equal to 100 euros. So basically, if somebody pays me 110 USDC, I have to declare that like I received like 100 euros. So it's taxed. And what I personally do is that I move it to my Binance card because it's tax free, because I already paid tax over it, over the fact that I earn it as an income, and I can spend it tax. So that is 2022. 2023 is a whole different story. So I'll just try to explain it as easy as possible, because it's quite a big paper. If you're interested in knowing the whole regulations, please go to my website, because I translated the whole regulations, not completely myself. I used like ChatGPT, but I checked it and verified it. So you can really read about the raw legislation yourself in English. But it's basically, I will separate it in like a couple of different categories. So let's start with NFTs. That's the easiest ones, because that is not regulated, meaning that you can buy and sell an NFT, and that is not a taxable event. Creating one and selling it, that's a different story. You have to open up an activity, and depending on what you're going to do with the crypto funds, you also might have to request a VASP license, a virtual asset service provider license. So NFT, capital gains, tax-free. Then we obviously have capital gains itself, and capital gains is the buying and selling of crypto assets. So you buy Bitcoin in January, you sell that Bitcoin for euros in March. This is a taxable event, and you pay 28% on taxes on the sale of this. But if you hold your funds for at least 365 days, it becomes tax-free. And what often I advise my clients is, if you made a trade and you sell it for stablecoin, you can hold that stablecoin for 1 year. And if you sell the stablecoin afterwards, it's not a taxable event. So that's a way to not have to pay taxes over your crypto gains. And to be honest, 1 year is not that long. I mean, the bull markets and the bear markets are like 3 or 4 years apart. So if you made good profit in the bull market, move it to stablecoins, hold those stablecoins for 1 year, and you're tax-free in Portugal. Then we have the staking of newly minted tokens, meaning that those tokens are not coming from other users, they're coming directly from the protocol as newly minted tokens. That is taxed for 28%. So why 28%? That's a question that I get often. The cap of 28% is, as you heard already, on like capital gains of property, but also capital gains of stocks, bonds. Dividends is capped at maximum 28%. Royalties, you name it, interest, it's all capped at 28%. So they tried to compare Web3 a little bit like with Web2. So that's the 28% is not a random number. It was a number that was already very common in the Portuguese tax system. So this is staking newly minted tokens. Then mining rewards. If you talk about proof of work, you have to set up an activity in Portugal, and 95% is going to become considered as taxable income, and 5% is going to be considered the costs of mining. So the government will be interested in 95% of the income and will tax that against the rate that is applied in Portugal, which goes up to 48%. So proof of work mining is not very profitable in Portugal anymore. It wasn't before, because to be honest, the energy expenses here in Portugal are very expensive as well. Then you have airdrops. So airdrops that you didn't have to do anything for are taxed 10%, the same form as a donation. But then the question is, what is not doing anything for an airdrop? Because you need to have a wallet. Sometimes you need to actively pick up the airdrop. Sometimes you need to use the network in order to get the airdrop. So this is just a way where you need to be able to explain yourself. Because if it's a passive airdrop, you pay 10%. But if it's an active airdrop and you had to do something for it, it comes in the other DeFi rewards category. So all the rewards, all the type of income that I didn't discuss yet, which is like liquidity rewards, yield farming, passive income through NFTs, play to earn gaming, they're all coming into the same category, the same as airdrops that you actively needed to pick up. So this is a category that you also have to open an activity, the same way as mining rewards. But in this case, only 15% is considered taxable income. So 85% is going to become considered costs. So this is very lucrative, meaning that you only have to give up 15% of your rewards, and those are going to be taxed against a maximum of 48%, meaning that all the other DeFi rewards are taxed for only 7.5%. Like it's a pretty good deal. And they're only taxed once you're cashing out. So as long as you stay in crypto and you're not considered a full-time trader, you're not paying any taxes at all on your crypto. So this is the basis of how different rewards and different digital assets are taxed in Portugal as of this year's regulation.
That's amazing. So just rehearing it sometimes, makes me really happy. So the next question for the cryptocurrency would be, obviously you mentioned the changes, the updates. So you actually went over so many of the questions with that one. Thank you so much. So what are the common mistakes and misunderstandings that people make from from what they hear about what the taxes happen in crypto, right? So you went over it, but is there anything that you realize that is a mistake that people assume?
Yes. One of the mistakes is the 365-day holding period. This is only for capital gains. So if you receive staking rewards and you hold them for 365 days, 365 days later, they're still staking rewards. They're not capital gains. So this is a very common misconception. They think that any DeFi rewards, any crypto rewards have the 365 holding period. But the law clearly states only capital gains. So only from trading. Then another one that I get is that why would I give up my taxes if Portugal has no way to figure it out right now? With that, I do agree, but you have to take into consideration that Portugal can go back 4 years in your tax reports. I work a lot with crypto and tax software providers. I also provide them the right documentation in order to track in Portugal, and I can see that they are already very advanced. So if they're advanced now, then imagine like 4 years from now in a combination with AI, where they're able just to trace because your public key is pretty public, like based on your blockchain explorer, you can basically predict what other wallets are yours and how many transactions you have done. So it becomes harder and harder to hide. And if it's easier for these software providers to get it, it only takes a matter of time before one of these software providers tell the government, it's like, hey, if you use this, we can basically predict like 100 million in tax revenue, and the software will only cost you 50 million. Like every government is going to back them to implement that software. So take in mind that the government can go 4 years back in your taxes. So they can review your tax report that you will do in April next year about 2023. They can review it in 2027. And that's what most people don't really realize. And on the other side, the people that get caught are either the people that are big enough to be investigated, so that the government is really going to set people on them. Either the request comes from abroad, like you might be like a US citizen and the US is interested in your situation in Portugal and works together. Or and sorry for my words, but you are like stupid enough. Like sometimes people deposit like 100K in the bank and then they cannot explain where it comes from. I mean, yeah, then you get caught. So those are the things that you always have to bear in mind. And the most common examples that I always give are like Cristiano Ronaldo and Shakira, that were in a tax fight simply because they stated, I'm living in the Bahamas, while Spain could prove you didn't spend more than 183 days there. We have like your flight tickets, we have your information, we know how many days you spend here. Like you have to start paying taxes, and they're obviously big enough to put like a big team on it. For personal experiences, I have never had any of my clients having problems with the government. In Web2, sometimes it happens that a client didn't give up his dividends, but then the country of origin where the dividends were received informs the Portuguese government, and he had to redo his tax declaration, included a fine. Don't ask me exactly what are the fines. That is mostly into a lawyer. But if you're avoiding a lot of taxes, you might be there might be jail time involved. So you don't really want that. So if you're unsure about your situation, I can always advise you to contact like a crypto lawyer or contact me, and I will forward you to one of the lawyers that I work with, and they write a legal opinion, and that would make you sleep better at night.
Okay. That's a big misconception. So it's cool to hear about that trading, that a lot of misconception is with trading. Obviously, the community, our community, and I think the way that crypto is moving towards maybe staking rewards, airdrops. So it was wonderful that you actually cleared that up. Now let's merge the two. So let's say, how would someone? Is it possible for someone to go ahead and maybe purchase a property with crypto? What are the tax involvements? For non-EU or EUs, does it matter who it is? Just could you briefly explain how that would work if we were to merge real estate with crypto?
Yes, this is actually a topic I work surprisingly a lot on. Like I get this request a lot, And this also has misconceptions. So there is a couple of websites in Portugal where you can see like real estate. It started with like only palaces that were like sold for like 20 Bitcoin, 30 Bitcoin, 80 Bitcoin. So it started really as a joke, but now there's actually like decent properties that you can buy with mostly Bitcoin. I also have an interview on my YouTube channel with the solicitor that actually did the first crypto to property transaction in Portugal, and yeah, he helps me mostly with the transactions, and it is actually pretty simple. So you find a place, you found a person that is willing to sell his property for crypto, and what you need to do is to verify that your crypto is tax-free and also free from anti-money laundering. So it's not drug money or anything bad. So you have to declare that this was crypto that you bought at some point, or got and it was taxed, and now you just have a lot of capital gains on top of it, but you held it for longer than 365 days. And the part that you held for less than 365 days, you will have to declare, because that's something that I didn't discuss earlier. If you use the Binance card or the Crypto.com card, that is a form of cashing out. So if you use your capital gains to cash them out through the Binance or the Crypto.com card, that is a form of cashing out. The same way as actually purchasing any asset with any non-crypto asset with a crypto asset is a form of cashing out. So it's capital gains. So in this case, also you need to have a lawyer looking into your situation, checking if all the crypto you obtained like legit, that it's tax-free and indeed free to do this transaction. He signs it off. You go through a solicitor, and the rest of the process is the same as a normal property purchase, let's say.
Cool. I just want to let everyone know, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. We're going to get through with it. We have one more last generic question. So is there anything else that investors should keep in mind when it comes to real estate and cryptocurrency taxation in Portugal, from your opinion?
Yes, actually. Also a common mistake that people make. Check if your country has exit taxes, because I already had a client that he didn't do his research in his country. He came here, and then the lawyer that I work with said, like, sorry, I cannot sign off this transaction because you didn't pay your exit tax in the country. And he said, like, well, I don't want to. And I was like, well, then we cannot sign off this transaction. So check with a local lawyer if there's any exit taxes, and how to deal that with. Make sure that if you pay your exit taxes, you keep that document, and you show it to that lawyer that you're gonna use in Portugal.
Okay, wonderful. It's good.
Sorry, one more thing. So the exit taxes are only for people coming from outside of the European Union. Within the European Union, there is no exit taxes. But once you want to move out of the European Union, or move into the European Union, there's exit taxes from the country of origin. So just to make that clear.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with the YouTube questions, and then we'll go with the Twitter questions, and allow people to come up and go one by one for your questions. Again, I want to thank you, Thomas, obviously, for taking your time and doing this. This has been very helpful up till now, and I'm probably going to be even more helpful for the future. One of the questions on YouTube was from Rolling Zoku. He said, do you need to give up your citizenship? I'm presuming he's saying American citizenship with $1 million visa.
No. Well, I'm saying no. This really depends on the rules of the country. Some countries allow dual citizenship, some don't. So that's something that you have to see locally if it's possible. And most of the answers are also on the internet.
Okay. The next two questions would be about specifically about Hex. So therefore, one of them is from Retrostatic, and the other one is from Bullish Ox. Retrostatic asks if we can give an example about how Hex would be taxed. Now, Thomas, are you familiar with how Hex would work?
Yeah, like I have a couple of Hex clients, and it's always a discussion, but it's like I can give my opinion, but it's not a legal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the way I understand is that in order when you stake your hex for a period of time, it's basically burning the tokens, but you have like a, I don't know, do you get like an NFT that states like how many you own, or
No.
you just
So what happens is that the block. So this is exactly what happens, right? So what the code states, and I'm actually really good for explaining this, is that you're actually telling the blockchain to run a contract function. So you don't actually do this. What it is that you're completing one of the functions on the on the right of the contract, so the writing function. And basically, once that's initiated, you need to do two things. You need to set an amount, right? So the amount that will be burnt, and you need to set an amount of time that you need to respect, or that the contract allows you between 1 day and 5,555 days. Then what happens is that the contract itself moves the coins from your wallet to the burn address, meaning that it takes it away from you and sends them somewhere else, right? And
yes,
at the end, okay, now there are characteristics in between which has to do with the time. The amount is always the same because it takes the initial amount and destroys it. You don't have access to that amount. It's not available. It's been destroyed because it's said in the code that the address that it sends it to is burning it into existence, meaning that you'll never get those coins back ever again.
the exact same coins. Yes.
The exact same coins, right? So what happens is that you need to respect the time, but there's obviously characteristics and not statistics, sorry, and there's characteristics and things that you need to respect about time, or else this happens. But it happens for different variables. But at the end, once you click end, if you accomplish your time, what it does is that it returns or remints your original coins plus the inflation that was occurred by the contract. So throughout this whole time, the contract actually does everything. So the contract mints the rewards, the contract redistributes or sends the rewards back to the original address that was told on the blockchain. So we don't get an NFT, we don't get coins back, so an LP or something. What happens is that the contract uses the blockchain's ledger to calculate itself what happens. So how much inflation every hex had inflated, plus the system which allows you to receive the system's inflation. Then it gives you back your coins, and then it attributes or splits up the amount that it inflated every day and sends it for you for the amount of days that you respected. And then you get
Okay,
it all in your wallet. And those are all brand new coins, by the way. They're not the original coins.
yes, exactly. So that would be the first thing. That is this capital gains? No, it's not, because you get something completely different in return. Is it the form of staking?
No.
Could be considered, like you're participating in a network and you get a payment for that.
Well, you're not participating in a network, though. The Hex is not a network. Hex is on the network. Now you need to pay an initial cost to create every transaction you do. Obviously on Ethereum, there's a cost, but it's not. It's the last cost is an accumulation of everyday cost. So if you were to look at what that actual transaction is you're paying for everyday calculation. So every day is being the contract does it, not you. So you're paying for the contract to do it.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I've heard many clients talking about it. Like it's not. I don't think it's capital gains. Like I would the most closest that I would say is that it's like an active airdrop, because it's completely new. The tokens are newly minted, but they're not staking rewards. So if they're not staking rewards, they're not capital gains. They're just considered like other DeFi rewards, and it's this 15% category. But again, it's not a legal opinion; it's my personal opinion.
Of course, and it's well appreciated. Obviously, at this moment in time, this is your experience and how you would assume. Thanks for that. Now, do we have any questions in the chat? Let me just check in the Twitter chat. No, we don't. So I guess we're gonna start with the hands up. I know Tiago is well. There's bullish in Tiago. I don't know who wants to go first. I know you guys both had your speaker request. And yeah, if anyone wants to come up, we're gonna go one by one per people. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Thank you.
Bullish was first.
Oh, of course. Let's go.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Bullish, what's up?
Good afternoon, Tomas, famous. So my question is a two-part question. It has to do with the burns, which you guys
Okay,
No,
okay, I will ask.
he must be busy.
My question
Tiago,
is,
would you like to go? Oh, there he
Oh,
is.
there he is.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Tomas, famous. So my question is a two-part question. It has to do with the burns, which you guys pretty much touched on, and also with as far as hex as a HSI, because HSI is a hex in a wrapped instance, which can also be an NFT. So I know your question do you get an NFT in return? So we do have something within hex that does give you an NFT. So my two-part question is, if we do create a hex instance as an NFT, how does that change from what you just explained? And also, as far as the tax code goes, if we burn crypto, is that considered a tax write-off?
No, well, that's not because you are personally provoking it. Like I can send you, like I have 1 Bitcoin. I can send it to you and say, like, yeah, this Bitcoin got stolen. No, I did the transaction. I am responsible for the transaction. So in that case, I disagree with that. You can put that as a tax write-off. The other question is, if you get an NFT, does that NFT have value? I assume it has, because is it tradable and does it have value?
Yes. So we can create a hex, stake or mint. It depends on who you ask, what vocabulary they use, but essentially the same way that Famous just explained, that we can go take our hex, interact with the contract, burn it, and then later on get new coins plus inflation. We can do the same thing and receive an NFT in return. So if we take the latter option of receiving an NFT in return, how would that change taxes on that?
Well, if that NFT has the same value of the tokens burned, because you're going to get them back later on, then it would be considered then it's going to be considered capital gains, because at some point you're going to return and burn that NFT and you get your tokens back. And then the difference in value is going to become capital gains, in my opinion.
So and Famous, feel free to jump in and explain it better. So essentially, we can create a hex stake as an NFT, and then we can sell that NFT before we even claim anything. So we can sell the value. So based on what I'm understanding, if I create a hex stake, and let's say in the future, that hex stake is worth, let's just use simple math, $10,000. I can sell that NFT for $10,000, pay 0 taxes, and then it's up to that person to go there and claim it.
Actually, I made a mistake in my last explanation, because NFTs are not a taxable event. So if you indeed burn your tokens, get an NFT and sell that NFT, that's tax-free.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask now?
Yeah, it's okay to me.
Okay, my question is for these loaning protocols, they are taxable events?
No. So if you, that's also often a question that I get. If you use your capital gains in order to borrow money, which is happening in Web2 a lot, like Mark Zuckerberg is not selling his stock, he just borrows against it, then that borrowed capital and using that borrowed capital is tax-free. You can return it later and pay it off, or you can get like liquidated, and that is basically tax-free. But you have to be able to explain to the government, because it can also be seen as a way of like tax avoidance. You just need to be able to explain what you're doing without the answer being, I did this to avoid taxes. But currently, I would say that it's still safe to do. But this is something that the government will look into, if people just keep using their capital gains. But on the other side, this is what happens in Web 2 as well, and that is legal. So why shouldn't it be in Web 3?
Thank you.
Tiago.
I hope he's still here. He's been patient.
He's probably coming back.
Yeah, Parkway, go ahead until he comes back.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, easier.
Yeah. Thank you, Famous. So I'm a lawyer in Portugal. And,
Oh, your mic is Tiago. Your mic is.
okay. Can you hear me now? Now?
No, it's very.
But you are creating an echo. The echo is loud, your voice is not loud.
Okay, I'll just try to leave the space and come back in.
Okay, Parkway.
Hey, how's it going? Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for hosting this space. So I'm a European member union. I reside in North America. I don't. Yes, I'm a dual citizen, but in the country that I reside, I don't hold their citizenship. But I do fall under any other residents. So I have technically all the rights of any other citizen. But yeah, I didn't take their citizenship. So technically, I'm residing here legally and doing my taxes and all that stuff. So here's my question. It's a little bit of a complicated one. If somebody from Austria that lives in Austria, which is part of the European Union, buys this crypto and then moves to Portugal, that investment becomes tax-free?
Yes, with a holding period of 365 days, and if it's really considered capital gains, yes, it's tax-free because you're moving within the European Union and there is no exit taxes. But you just have to see if the yeah, I mean, crypto related, there's no really laws in place yet that Austria can say like, oh, but we still have the right to tax you on those crypto assets. It might be something locally, but from my point of view, as somebody that is specialized on crypto and taxes in Portugal, if you move here, the 365 days don't start counting when you move to Portugal. It's just for how long have you been holding your crypto assets.
So holding, does that implicate keeping it in one wallet, or you can move it in wallets as long as it doesn't go on the DEX and doesn't get converted or sold?
Yes, correct, 100%. What you say. So you can move it within different wallets that are all owned by you. You just need to be able to explain it, and yes, you can move it as long as you don't. So when does it start counting? Is like the last time you did a swap on a DEX or on a centralized exchange.
Yeah, but the fiscal residency when he brought that crypto.
I'm sorry.
So you had fiscal residency in a certain country when you brought the crypto. So now when you are selling it, you have to pay taxes to the place where you had the fiscal residency when you brought it.
Correct. Yes, that's what we stated.
Okay. So if
you move from Austria to Portugal, then you become a resident in Portugal, and then it's taxed in Portugal. But because Portugal says 365 days long,
so you become okay, and then you just deal with the origin of purchase.
Well, that's what you have to show. If they ask, and so in Portugal, you don't set up any tax. If you
I understand. So here, I come to Portugal, right, and I declare that and provide proof that the coins have not moved longer than a year. They have been always in my possessions. They didn't go on the DEX. I understand that part.
Yes, but you don't. So in Portugal, you don't do a zero declaration. So you move to Portugal, you don't have to declare them for tax authorities. If you cash out and the banks are flagging your amount, you can just prove like, hey, I've been living in Portugal. I've been holding these funds for 365 days. What I've done is completely tax-free. Like you cannot do a zero declaration. You cannot create a declaration to show that the funds are not taxed. You can declare a loss, you can declare profits, but you can't declare zero, let's say.
Right. So here's my other technical question. Since the banks are going bankrupt one by one and struggling, what is the future for Portugal? Portugal has a lot of debts. right?
Yes.
So as a lawyer, how would you
I'm
say?
not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
Oh, okay. So maybe legal advisor?
Yes. No, a tax advisor.
Tax advisor. Okay. So as a tax advisor, how would you say would that implicate once, if, God forbid, but if it happens that Portugal needs to come out like Greece and say, hey, I'm bankrupt, how would that affect, do you think, the crypto market in Portugal?
No, but this is obviously something discussed on a European level. This is not something that's going to be dependent on Portugal itself. This is like the European level. Like, are they going to support? Is the European Union going to fall apart, or is it going to stay together?
No. So here's the thing. So the European Union sits as it is, just like Greece, right? Greece is still part of the European Union, entered the European Union, and shortly after announced its bankruptcy, right? Now, here's my question, though. You say if that happens, yes. So let's assume the European Union is still in one piece, and Portugal, for whatever reason, comes out and says, yo, I cannot keep up with the payments no more. And then you're saying that the European Union will interfere with the local laws?
Well, they already do. They already have a lot of say about the debt in Portugal. This is an ongoing discussion.
Yeah, no, I understand that part, but I'm talking about the crypto side of things. Will the European Union interfere in the local laws in regards to crypto?
Yes, that happens. Well, I cannot prove this by facts, but my opinion is that the only reason why Portugal has rules in 2023 about crypto, that they're not really very active on following up. Like the finanzas, the fiscal authorities hasn't really updated their software to declare crypto yet. So I think that Portugal has been pushed to create any regulations about crypto because all other countries of the European Union had it. So the draft that happened in Portugal, it went really quick, and I saw the first draft and it was full of mistakes, and actually wrote a letter to the government, just with like basic primary school questions, like, okay, John receives staking rewards, 1 Ethereum every month. Every month he's just receiving the Ethereum, and he's cashing it out on the 6th month. Like, when does he pay taxes? And then the government came back, well, yeah, only when you cash out. So as long as you stay in crypto, you're not having any taxable event. So coming back to the question, I think the only reason why Portugal has regulations about crypto is because they had to, because MiCA now becomes in place. And with MiCA becoming in place, countries basically have to start that, because countries within the European Union are continuously competing with each other as well on where to register your company, where do you register, what is the best country for like personal income taxes. They're continuously doing this, and just the way how fast this law was drafted, how many mistakes were written in it, it was really pushed to act quickly. And I don't think this came from Portugal. I really think this came from the European Union.
Appreciate the answer, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. I have a question.
I'm sorry, Adrian. Tiago's back. I think he's waited. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Tiago,
thanks very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
Okay, perfect. So going back to this question by Parkway, I myself am a lawyer in Portugal, and I used to work in as a legal advisor inside a bank, and it's a huge question. Last year, many didn't heard of it, but last year a few banks actually stopped working with crypto and didn't allow any withdrawals from crypto. And the issue was exactly your question: liquidity. So banks in Portugal are facing liquidity issues for a long time, and some of them, from time to time, decide not to work with crypto brokers, which are called SECs, but they're brokers, and they stop accepting withdrawals. So that's an issue sometimes. But you have many banks in Portugal. Some of them are international banks, and so you can choose with which bank you can you want to work with. But another issue, and before going to my question, another issue with the law, and by the way, this law that approved taxation on crypto assets, it's our national budget. And the budget, what it says, it doesn't actually refer to NFTs or coins or anything. It just refers to crypto assets. And by crypto assets, it's everything that's crypto, including an NFT. So I'm sorry to disagree, but it's pretty clear to me, and anyone can look at the national budget. It's published online, and it's Article 5th, line U. Any crypto assets are taxable as long as you sell for a profit. So you pay taxes on capital gains. The only thing, oh, and by the way, Bullish asked a great question as well regarding Hex. If Hex rewards are taxable, they are taxable. And there's also something that's not written in the law, which is the anti-circumvention interpretation of the law. So when you do something, a method, some kind of action that or lack of action that you take to exclude from classifying a certain event within the law, the concept of the law. And Famous explained pretty well how Hex works. And there's one of those middle actions that occur between the moment you buy Hex and the moment you get the rewards. And that doesn't count for anything. So you need to understand that when you interpret the law in Portugal, you need to interpret according to the intent of the legislator. And what the legislator wanted was, and this is actually also extremely well written and clear in the law, that any crypto asset that makes you earn some kind of money is taxable. That includes proof of stake, that includes mining, that includes anything that gives you a profit from any type of crypto asset. It doesn't exclude any kind of gain, and it doesn't exclude any kind of crypto asset. So regarding Hex, yes, your taxed, your rewards are taxed in Portugal, excluding those that if you hold the crypto asset for more than 365 days. So with Hex, the way you should do it is you buy Hex, you stake Hex, let's say for 5 years. So from 5 years from now, you get your Hex back plus your reward, and then you hold your reward for at least 365 days. This is how you're not taxed in Hex in Portugal. So, but my question is, and I've gone through the law. I mean, I don't want to cause any confusion here. And Thomas did a great job explaining everything. I don't agree with everything. It's just normal. But he did a great job. I just wanted some help clarifying one thing that it's not written in the law, and I think that you kind of talked about it, but not so thoroughly. And I think this is the most important issue here. What is a taxable event? So what the law says is you are taxed when you sell your crypto asset, and you need to hold your crypto asset for at least 365 days if you don't want to be taxed on the capital gains that you get. But what is selling the crypto asset? So you have euros, you buy crypto, but when you buy crypto, you buy, for instance, USDT, and now you have a crypto asset. Then with that USDT, let's say you buy $1,000 of something, and then it goes up 10x, and you get your money back and sell that crypto asset for USDT again. You hold your USDT for at least 365 days. Are you taxed or not? Because the crypto asset that you bought initially was USDT, and now you held crypto assets for at least 365 days. You never cashed out. You never realized profit, but you did have a profit. We know we had a profit, but the law doesn't say which type of sell event is taxable. Is it selling any crypto asset for fiat money, or is it just selling your crypto asset for another? If you buy Ethereum with euros, you sell your Ethereum for Bitcoin. You have a profit. Are you taxed for having a profit in Bitcoin, or do you need to cash out before you can be taxed on your profit? And that's the question, because it's not written in the law, and so you would have to have some kind of legal opinion, binding legal opinion by the tax authorities in Portugal, in order to sustain this opinion that either way, if it's a taxable, if selling crypto for USDT for another crypto is a taxable event or not, and if you can just hold any globally any kind of crypto asset for at least 365 days and then cash out for fiat, and then you're not taxed.
Okay, that was a lot. Nice, Thiago. Nice that you joined. You're a lawyer. I'm not.
Thanks,
so a lot of respect. You're also knowing about banking. I see you have like the hex symbol, so you also have an opinion about that.
Yeah,
I do have to disagree with you about NFTs, because it's written in literally the second line. No, sorry, it's written in the fifth line of the proposal, not as NFT but non-fungible token. So the NFT stands for non-fungible token. So it is written in the law, and it is written that it's excluded. So yeah, reach out to me afterwards. I can share you the link, so you can see that. So based on that, I don't really have to dive deeper into that. So if we look at what Bullish said about like turning it into an NFT and selling the NFT, NFT is a non-fungible token, so it's not taxed. I would be curious. Well, you also said that you were just holding the hex for longer than 365 days, and that was your opinion about why hex rewards are tax-free. I also agree with you that everyone should always get a legal opinion. Make sure that the lawyer knows where he's talking about and have a legal opinion, especially if you're dealing with a lot of money. Yeah, your question, because you made it so long, I'm not really sure if I can follow it. So yeah, if you hold your stablecoin,
I can summarize it.
So crypto to crypto is only taxed when you're considered a full-time trader. Any other cases, crypto to crypto is not taxed. So you are taxed on the moment that you're cashing out. And then it's just like your last trade. What was the value of the Bitcoin in euros when you bought it? And even if you moved into stable coins first, you just have to look at your last trade that you used the DEX before you changed it back to fiat. And as I stated earlier in this spaces, if you're using your Binance card, that is also a form of cashing out. So you're not doing the sale, it's Binance doing it for you. And if you buy property with your crypto assets, that is also a form of cashing out. So not only swapping it back to fiat, buying goods with your crypto assets that are not crypto, that is considered cashing out. So I don't know if you would like to attach anything to your question.
No, it's exactly that. So your opinion is that the moments that really matter for the law to consider it a tax event is when I first buy crypto and when I last convert crypto to fiat. Is that it?
No, the last time you did a transaction and the last time you did the holding period is just for how long you're holding it, not for how long you're into crypto. Because this is what I saw on a YouTube video. She is known Bitcoin Tips. Maybe you guys, or Crypto Tips. They're in Algarve. Some of you might know. They have a lawyer, and she basically said that the holding period is like from the moment you move into crypto, which is ridiculous. So my opinion is just that the last time you did a swap in between two cryptos and you moving out of crypto, so to fiat, the difference between those is whether you have capital gains or capital losses.
I don't agree with that. and that is very clear in the law that not the definition of tax event, but how you calculate the capital gain. Because what it says is when you buy crypto with fiat, that's the moment you evaluate how much you paid for crypto, and then when you cash out, but cashing out is not defined by the law. When you cash out, then you need to subtract that first purchase. So when you use fiat to buy USDT, for instance, that's the moment where you're going to define how much you invested. And then uh, time goes by, you buy a coin, it goes up a million X, you want to cash out, but you cash out to USDT, and you hold USDT for 365 days. Is this taxable or not? And that's the real issue, because the law doesn't define at which point is the capital gain realized. It just says when you sell your crypto, but when you sell your crypto for what? For other
Not for
crypto
crypto.
or
So when you sell
for
your
fiat?
crypto, not for crypto. So indeed, as I said earlier, when you're using your crypto to buy non-crypto assets, or you're selling it for euro.
Okay, and that's what makes sense for me. But do you have any support in like a binding legal opinion by the tax authorities or something? Do you know of any legal opinion issued by the tax authorities?
Not by the tax authorities, but by lawyers. But I'm not able to share them with you because I had to sign off that I'm a
that's
share.
fine. That's fine. I'm a lawyer, and if I issued one of those, that would be worthless because the tax authority can interpret it as it pleases. But it would be, and this is a tip. I think you, for the sake of your job and your clients and everyone in general, and actually this would actually give you a lot of exposure to crypto clients. I think it would be good for you to ask the tax authorities for a binding legal opinion where they commit to an interpretation of the law. Is it selling for fiat, whatever, or is it the moment you sell your crypto active, your crypto asset for another crypto asset?
I
And
will
they need to
also,
clarify that.
yes, sure. I will also have a look into the latest translated adjustments. Also, I have the original here, and check whatever I can find in that. Like, I would really like to continue this discussion. Like, please send me a message.
Sure, thanks, man.
I also sent like where I found the non-fungible token part.
Cool, thanks.
May I ask now?
Yep.
Okay, my question is related to donations in crypto. So if you give or if you receive crypto donations, what is the tax level?
It's the same as the airdrops, so it's 10%.
Okay, thank you.
Bullish?
So yeah, I wanted to follow up on the example I gave because there's Hex and there's another token. I'm not gonna talk about the other token, not to piss anyone off in the room, but with the first example I gave, in order to turn the Hex into an NFT, the user has to take an action with the contract. And then there's another token that you can mint the NFT into existence, sell it, or claim the tokens. So with those two examples, if you understand what I'm saying, how would it be taxed differently?
Repeat it again. You went really
So
quick.
with the Hex example, I can go and essentially purchase Hex, turn into a stake via the contract, and then take an extra action to turn that stake into an NFT. And then I can go and sell that NFT. But
Yes.
since I took an action as a user, is that taxed differently versus me buying and selling an NFT with this other token that you can do something similar?
That's a good question. Like, I don't think minting an NFT is the same way as like creating an NFT. So if you ask for my personal opinion,
Actually, you're not minting it. You're not minting it. It's the contract that mints it and gives it to you.
Right. In both examples, the contract is minting it for you.
And the contract is actually owned by a business called Samina Tempest and LLC from I forget.
So it's
where.
the same. So then it's the same. If you're not like making the NFT yourself, it's the same. You're buying an NFT and you're selling it for a profit, and that is not taxable as of the current law.
Wow.
Like I have also clients that come to me. It's like, so Portugal has exit taxes. Yeah, Portugal has exit taxes. 28% of unrealized gains. What if I move those gains into Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, and I move out of the country with NFTs that are not taxable? I was like, well, you're right. But if you move out of the country and sell those NFTs with a loss, that might be weird. Like, how are you going to explain that? It's all about being able to explain yourself, and the answer cannot be avoiding taxes. But what if you buy the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you move out to, let's say, Dubai. When you arrive in Dubai, the price of the Bored Ape Yacht Club actually rose, and you're selling it with a profit. Then you can basically explain, like, I saw an opportunity and I anticipated on it. So yeah, there's a lot of ways around it, but then it's better to speak to a lawyer like Tiago on how the government is going to implement it. But I get these questions a lot, and I can give my personal opinion, but I can't give like a legal opinion about it. But
right. So let me ask you a very specific question. Let's just get to the elephant in the room. Let's say someone buys Hex. Hex accumulates in value. I'm just going to use basic math. Now you have $10,000 worth of Hex. You want to exit that position. So you might swap into Ethereum, then use that Ethereum, buy NFT, sell NFT for equal value. Is that considered a taxable event?
Holding the NFT, you mean?
Correct. Well, you swap from your initial position Hex, swap into, let's say, Ethereum, and then you use that Ethereum to buy NFT. You hold the NFT and then you sell the NFT, all while living in Portugal. Is that considered a taxable event?
Well, then you come actually back to the question that Tiago asked, is like, what is cashing out? And in what I understood is, like, if you buy any non-crypto goods, that's considered cashing out, meaning that if you buy an NFT with crypto, I don't think that is considered cashing out. So if you ask my clear opinion, I would say that it is not a taxable event, but you again need to explain what you did, and the answer cannot be to avoid taxes.
No, of course not. It's never to avoid taxes, because then that's, you're actually committing a crime at that point. But let's say that's the path you took. If you can explain it and prove it,
then it's a non-taxable event. Yes.
Right. Okay.
As for now, like, I think NFTs are the next one to be regulated, because the government obviously sees that people use this product to not have to pay taxes.
Thank you.
Welcome. By the way, I'll jump into, because I saw in the comment section that where is it? OV Crypto asked the question, under the NHR regime, how to prove that our staking revenues are from abroad, and if we stake on a cold wallet. And under the NHR regime, if all our revenues are from abroad, do we still have to declare each year all our foreign revenues to Portuguese tax authorities? So most people in this chat won't know what the NHR is. NHR is non-habitual resident. It's something that if you move to Portugal and you haven't been resident in Portugal for the last 5 years, you can obtain it. It is like a tax-free status that you can obtain in Portugal, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So if you're indeed moving to Portugal, you obtain the NHR. This means that incomes that you receive from abroad are considered tax-free in Portugal if they were already taxed abroad. Then tax treaties will give you the answer to that. And as far as I know, as the question here is regarding crypto, I don't think there is any country that like taxes crypto the same way as we withhold dividends or we withhold taxes on dividends. So if you have American stocks, then they already withhold dividends, that because you already pay taxes there, you won't have to pay taxes over it in Portugal. So in my opinion, the NHR actually has no effect on crypto as for now, as the regulation is still so new and the taxation is still so new. But the NHR program is interesting if you have a highly added value job. There's like a list of jobs where if you move to Portugal with one of those jobs, you will pay a 20% flat rate on your incomes that you get into a job. And if you're a freelancer, it can even go as low as 7.5% the first year, and then 15% the second year. So the NHR you can use in two ways. Incomes from abroad are tax-free in Portugal if they were already taxed outside, or you can use the NHR to pay a 20% flat rate on your job as a trabalhador dependente, so a worker, let's say, category A, where you pay 20%, or when you're a freelancer, you can set up the activity with the simplified regime. I mean, this is a different topic, but either 20% flat rate or tax-free from incomes from abroad. So that was in the comment section. And then Marco also asked a question, but he asked it in Dutch, so I'll have to translate it. So yeah, you're only taxed if you convert it back to cash, or you use your crypto to buy non-crypto assets. That was your first question, unless you're considered a full-time day trader for crypto. So yeah, if you're stating that if you sell one coin for 100,000 euro, so I guess you're talking about Bitcoin then, and you hold it in stables for 365 days, you let 80,000 be on the account, and 20% or 20%, 20K you're selling. Yes, both of them are tax-free, but since you're only moving the 20K, then the 20K is a taxable event, and the 80K that you hold in stable coins is not a taxable event yet. So those were the questions in the comment sections, and I don't think I missed any of them.
Yeah, thank you so much. If anyone else has questions, just I know we have CD.
Yeah,
Ramona.
Yeah, just real quick. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and this is probably stating the obvious, but in the U.S., for instance, I think there's some confusion, maybe from U.S. listeners, maybe not, that in the U.S., as I understand, any crypto to crypto, any profit is a taxable event, even when you do not convert back to fiat. And Portugal is different, maybe even from other EU countries, in that, from what I understand now, Diego, that you can stay in crypto, and as long as you hold a crypto asset, even between cryptos for a year from your entry, it's tax-free.
Sorry, could you repeat that question? Were you talking about like entrance and exit taxes, or are you talking
partially,
about
partially a point, partially a question. But the point is, in the U.S., as I understand it, crypto to crypto profit you make in hex and go into Ethereum, if you have to declare the profit in hex, even if you remain on the blockchain in your cold storage wallet, you have to pay taxes on that in the U.S., as I understand it. But in other countries, Portugal, now I understand, as long as you remain in a crypto asset and hold those assets for a year, it's tax exempt.
Yes, correct. If we talk about like capital gains, but yeah, all the countries in Europe are dealing with crypto and taxation differently. Like in Portugal, it's mostly that. So in Portugal, if you move here with like 1 million in your bank account, but you're not earning any interest, you're not earning dividends, you're not earning any rewards, they're not expecting a tax declaration from you. While if you move to the Netherlands with that same million, I guess you pay like 3.5% more or less on it in like box 3. So it's just a completely different tax system. Like from outsiders, it might seem that in Europe, like everything is equal, but we're still very much competing with each other, and we have really different tax structures, tax benefits. So it's really depending on the country. And indeed, what you said, Portugal has a 365-day tax-free, but like Germany and France might have something else.
I can give another example. In Romania, if you change from one crypto asset to another crypto asset, it's a taxable event. the tax rate here for crypto is 10%. We don't have capital gains, so there will be no differentiation.
Okay.
And you can receive donations up to $100,000 without paying taxes.
You can receive donations up to 100,000
euros. Yes, euros. And after
I-
that, the tax is like under 10%. It's like 8% or something.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yep. And until Mika, you didn't even have to identify the party that donated to you.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Any more questions? Is there any more questions on YouTube, Famous?
No, at this moment, I think that is it. Crypto edits. Do you have a question? I don't see your hand up.
Well, not a question. I was gonna say thanks for everything. It was very informative.
Well, my pleasure.
I'm glad.
If anyone has more questions, you could always contact Thomas, Crypto Taxes. Obviously, DM him on Twitter, follow him at taxes_crypto. I'll have the link also in the description on YouTube for everyone who's listening on YouTube. I know there's a lot of people that might want to talk to you a bit more privately, so we'll give them that option. You're always available. He's very professional, guys. I really appreciated my personal conversation with him. I know Bullish also. So listen, Thomas, thank you so much. Tiago, also, thank you so much for coming in your knowledge. Definitely, you both should definitely communicate and stay in touch. Obviously, you're both doing an amazing service for us, us residents and citizens. So thank you. I really appreciate it. For everyone on YouTube, thank you for listening. Everyone on Twitter, if no one has any other questions, I don't see anyone coming up. That's awesome. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. It was really, really appreciated. Much appreciated. Is there anything else?
Yeah, thank you for the invite. I think it was
My
interesting, especially the discussion with like Tiago was interesting. I also share my findings on Twitter. So if you're interested in moving to Portugal or any regulations at all, if I find something, I normally like tweet about it immediately because it just creates and starts discussions, you know. And I'm also learning. I'm also learning from things that Tiago says because. So my background is more accounting and less law, and I know that we look at stuff differently. We're more the numbers guys, and you are more the word guys, let's say. So yeah, thank you for hosting this. I think it was really cool. It was really good questions, and yeah, maybe we can do a follow-up sometime.
Yeah, for sure. You're always welcome to come in. You know me if you follow me or if you follow at Hex all day. We run spaces every day, crypto oriented, and there's a lot of people, like I said, that are from Portugal and EU. So we do touch a lot of people. I know I see Facing Reality on there. He's recently moved, so he's definitely gonna contact you, or already has. I don't know. But yeah, thank you so much again, Thomas. It was really appreciate it. I know we took an hour and a half of your time, so thank you so much.
And as we say, bom fim de semana.
Bom fim de semana. Boa tarde. Thanks, guys. So at this moment, what we're gonna do is I think we're gonna stop the chat.